Yeah, I mean, I'll be down. Let's run it. Like, I'll be super, super down. I don't know if
Gervonta needs Jake Paul. Let's be clear, right?
Is there a height limit in boxing?
Yeah, I'm fighting Jake Paul.
Just shocking. Gervonta Tank Davis versus Jake Paul face to face. Nobody thought we'd actually see this day, but here we are. This isn't just another fight announcement. This is a collision of two completely different worlds. On one side, you have Gervonta Tank Davis, undefeated, explosive, and respected by purists. On the other, Jake Paul, hated by some, loved by others, but always commanding the spotlight. And before we dive deep into all the shocking twists, the weight drama, and the furious reactions from fighters like Lamont Roach, Ryan Garcia, and even Shakur Stevenson, I've got to say it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, because this is going to be a good one. And I once again have to ask, seriously, as fans, is this the kind of fight boxing needs? Or is it just the circus taking over? Because what just broke could change boxing forever.
Jake is big, Tank has a lot of skill, but I don't think he's the same Tank that we saw the most incredible knockouts. We saw him, I mean, Lamont Roach performed great. They went to draw, and, you know, I just don't know. And Tank walked away. I don't know if he loves it enough to beat a guy who outweighs him by 80 to 100 pounds.
The deal is real. The date is set. And the fallout is already shaking the sport. This wasn't something that came out of nowhere. Davis and Jake Paul have been circling each other for months, almost like two sharks smelling the same blood in the water. Behind the scenes, talks were happening, and the plan was clear. If Davis got through Lamont Roach Jr. on March 1st, Jake Paul was supposed to be next. The expectation was that Tank would roll through Roach, add another highlight reel knockout to his resume, and then announce the biggest crossover fight of his career. But that's not what happened. Instead, Davis and Roach fought to a shocking majority draw in Brooklyn, leaving fans stunned and promoters scrambling. That result complicated everything. Suddenly, instead of calling out Jake Paul, Tank was facing pressure to settle the score with Roach in an immediate rematch. But here's the thing. In boxing, money always has the loudest voice. And what happened on August 20th proved it. On August 20th, Ring Magazine dropped a bombshell. Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis is official. The two will face off on November 14th at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, and the fight will stream live on Netflix in front of a global audience. This is massive for multiple reasons. First, the fight was initially teased for November 15th, but Paul himself quickly jumped in on Instagram to clarify. It's happening on November 14th instead. The switch only fueled more speculation, with fans dissecting every detail and wondering what's really going on behind the scenes. And then there's the catch. It's an exhibition, not a professional bout, but make no mistake, the stakes are still huge. This isn't some small-time sparring match. This is Netflix. This is Atlanta. And this is the kind of fight that could break streaming records. But here's where things get spicy. Jake Paul's last fight took place at 200 pounds. Davis, meanwhile, is a natural 135-pounder. That's a 65-pound gap. A YouTuber heavyweight against one of the deadliest lightweights alive. On paper, it makes no sense, but that's exactly why fans can't stop talking about it. And that's where the controversy begins. Even though it's an exhibition, weight is still the #1 question hanging over this fight. Tank reportedly wants Jake to come down to 175 pounds. A huge cut for Paul, but the only way the Athletic Commission can sanction it safely. No state in America is going to let a 135-pound champion officially fight a 200-pounder. Still, the details remain fuzzy.
I think he was here. He came in my locker room.
Shakur Stevenson?
He wasn't in my locker room. Next question.
Tank has made it clear he's willing to take the risk if Paul meets him halfway, but the logistics are messy. Can Paul actually cut down that low without losing his size advantage? Will Davis really bulk up that high without losing his speed? These are the questions that have fans and even fighters split right down the middle. But while all this was unfolding, there was another storyline brewing in the background. Because by chasing Jake Paul, Tank left behind someone who thought he had unfinished business with him. And that fighter is furious. For Lamont Roach Jr., this announcement felt like a betrayal. Remember, Roach was supposed to get his rematch with Davis after their controversial draw. He trained, he signed, he was ready to go. But Tank, he never signed his part of the contract. The reason, as we now know, is clear. Davis was waiting on Jake Paul, and when the Netflix deal came through, the Roach rematch was dead in the water. Roach didn't stay quiet. He jumped on X and posted a short but brutal message. "Told ya, lol." 4 duck emojis aimed directly at Davis. To Roach and his supporters, this wasn't about business. It was about Tank dodging a dangerous rematch.
I told y'all from the beginning, man, that I got the skills to pay the bills. I've been telling y'all that. And I'm just glad I got to show it, honestly. I'm glad I got to show it. I appreciate, like I said before, I appreciate True Boxing Media. Some guys that didn't count me out. So that's just how I feel, man. I think I won. And, I can't wait to do it again. I can't wait to dance again.
And fans are divided. Some argue Tank is chasing the bag, and who can blame him when the money is 10 times bigger? Others say it's a stain on his legacy, skipping a hungry contender in order to fight a YouTuber. Either way, Roach feels burned, and he's not letting it go. The announcement didn't just shock fans, it rattled the boxing world. Promoters, champions, and even legends of the sport had something to say.
I will have to come up with something for Shakur Stevenson. If I don't, that may be the end. It's got to work for me as well as Shakur. Maybe I haven't got anything for him. Maybe he hasn't got anything for me. But right now, I know what we agreed with His Excellency, and that's what we'll do for now, and then see where we go.
I know you said you wanted to make that Tank fight, so hopefully we can see that in the future, Eddie.
Jake Paul, isn't he? So he's got. I don't know whether he'll fight. What's the rematch?
Lamont Roach.
I don't know if he'll still fight Lamont Roach. I know he's fighting Jake Paul in November, and then maybe Shakur after that.
Eddie Hearn, one of boxing's most powerful promoters, admitted he was frustrated. Why? Because before this deal came together, Jake Paul was actually in talks to fight Anthony Joshua. Imagine that! One of Britain's biggest heavyweight icons facing off with a YouTuber turned fighter. But those talks collapsed, and instead of Joshua, Jake locked in Davis. To Hearn, it was another reminder that boxing politics can shift overnight when the money is right. Then there's Shakur Stevenson, one of the slickest boxers in the world.
Nah, I'm not shocked. I mean, his last fight when he fought Lamont, Jake Paul was at the fight. He told y'all he was going to fight somebody like Jake Paul. So I'm not shocked. It don't surprise me, so nah.
He wasn't surprised by the matchup at all. In his mind, Tank Davis is simply too sharp, too skilled, and too seasoned. Stevenson said flat out, Tank will easily outbox Jake Paul. To him, it's not a matter of if Davis wins, it's how fast he does it. But not everyone agrees.
Season again, you feel me? And Scooter getting ready to go do his thing on the 5th, like you said. Both Scooter and I are doing very well right now, you know. They're young guys, they're moving up the ladder pretty fast, you know. If they can stay on this trajectory from now to, say, the next year or two, you know what I mean? Who knows, man? You know, they face somebody for a world title, too.
Ryan Garcia, who knows Tank better than most, after their blockbuster clash in 2023, has a very different take. Garcia doubts Tank would ever fight as high as 195 pounds. But if by some chance Davis really accepts those terms, Ryan said he bet on Jake Paul. Think about that. One of Tank's biggest rivals putting money on the YouTuber. It's a statement that has only fueled more debate online. And then there's the fan reaction. Social media lit up the second this news dropped. On one side, critics called it a circus fight, a money grab, another blow to boxing's credibility. But on the other, fans were buzzing, calling it a blockbuster, a must-watch event that could bring more eyes to boxing than any traditional matchup ever could. Memes, debates, and fight predictions spread like wildfire, making it one of the most talked-about announcements of the year. Here's where things get tricky. For Tank Davis, this fight isn't just about proving a point. It's about money, legacy, and reputation. And the truth is, all three are colliding at once. Not too long ago, Davis was clear. He said he wouldn't even consider fighting Jake Paul until he'd reach the status of legends like Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, or Canelo Alvarez. To Tank, Paul wasn't in the conversation. He was an entertainer, not a real boxer. But now, here he is, signing the deal, making the walk, and preparing to share the ring with him.
And I found out that Gervonta Davis is now fighting Jake Paul. So Jake Paul was supposed to be fighting AJ. Eddie Hearn announced 99% done, which we just spoke about. What next for AJ? Potentially Jake Paul. But it now looks like that Jake Paul is fighting one of Anthony Joshua's legs. He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on.
So the big question is, has Davis reached that legendary level already? Or is this fight proof that he's willing to bend his own rules when the payday is too big to ignore? Because let's be honest, the money is astronomical. Just look at the numbers. When Tank fought Ryan Garcia in 2023, the event did 1.3 million pay-per-view buys and a staggering $23 million live gate. It was the biggest boxing event of the year. But Jake Paul, he brings a whole different audience. Not just boxing fans, but mainstream viewers, influencers, celebrities, and millions of younger fans who wouldn't normally tune in. For Netflix, this is a gold mine. For Tank, it's a chance to cash in like never before. But here's the problem. Legacy and money don't always mix. Chasing the bag can come at the cost of respect. And as history has shown, once your legacy is questioned, it's almost impossible to get it back.
What do you think about the rumors of Tank and Jake fight?
Man, Tank disrespectful to the sport if he choose that over fighting with me. I'm the best fighter in the sport. I've been telling him that. He called cap on it. So if you gonna call cap and say I'm not who I say I am, come prove it. I think it's dangerous for him to go back in there and fight Lamont. I think Lamont is a hell of a fighter. I can see that going left. So he better be on his A game.
Legacy, as Tank Davis is about to learn, is a dangerous thing to gamble with. This fight isn't just a one-night spectacle. It's a crossroads moment for both men. For Jake Paul, the stakes couldn't be higher. Every critic has said the same thing since day one. Fight a real champion. Well, this is it. If he pulls off even a decent showing against Tank Davis, he doesn't just silence the haters. He rewrites the entire story of his boxing career. One strong performance could legitimize him forever. But the risks are brutal too. If Davis dominates and embarrasses him, Jake's reputation could crumble overnight. All the hype, all the millions he's made off boxing, all the attention, gone in a single fight. For Tank Davis, the risk is different, but just as real. By choosing Jake Paul over elite rivals, he opens himself up to criticism that he's ducking real competition. Already, fighters like Lamont Roach are calling him out, saying he's chasing money instead of greatness. Even PBC, his own backers, were reportedly pushing for him to rematch Roach instead. But Netflix's offer was too big. The choice is made. So, the real question is, who's in control of this fight? Is it Tank with his legacy and power on the line? Is it Jake with his platform and hype machine? Or is it money pulling the strings from behind the curtain? What we know for sure is this. The fight is locked in for November 14th in Atlanta, and the whole world will be watching. Love it or hate it, Gervonta Tank Davis versus Jake Paul isn't just a fight. It's an event, a spectacle, maybe even a turning point for boxing itself. Despite the criticism, despite the controversy, it may end up becoming one of the biggest shows the sport has ever seen. Two names from two very different worlds stepping into one ring with millions ready to witness history in the making. And now, the only question left is for you. Do you think Jake Paul actually stands a chance against Gervonta Tank Davis? Or will this go down as the most one-sided fight Netflix has ever streamed? Drop your predictions below, because this is a debate nobody can ignore. Alright guys, for the best updates on boxing news, moments, events, and actions, subscribe to Knockout Updates. And turn on notifications to never miss out on quality content. And check out our other videos. Until next time, peace out!